Go live.
Should be live.
Should be live. I'm looking for notifications. FT Aero live stream. Let's see if it works. We got it? Yeah, I see it. Perfect.
Hey!
We did it! Highway 55. Ready? There. There you go.
Okay.
All right, we're good to go. Hey friends, welcome to Flight Test. This is, I don't know how many different live builds we've done, but it has been a long time since we've done it. We're going to give a couple minutes here, but what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building the FT Mini Aero that you see right here. Now, I went ahead and I wanted to make sure that I didn't make any mistakes, so I built this. It only takes about 45 minutes to maybe an hour, but we're going to give ourselves a 2-hour slot, and the reason is I want to be able to answer any questions. And we have the rest of our team here, a good chunk of them, I should say. We have Dave Jester behind us. We have Chase and Jason over to our far left. He'll be chiming in once in a while. And Noah's obviously behind the camera, and I think we may even have some team members online as well. So if you have any questions, we'd love to answer it. This is more than just a build time. This is a fellowship time. We want to have a Q&A while we're going along. So don't worry if you don't have an Aero build kit. If you have one, that's awesome. Get your hot glue guns plugged in. Make sure you have some tape available. And also, if you guys are new to Flight Test, many of these planes that we build have free plans. So I guess a lot of you guys are probably building off those plans, which is just absolutely wonderful. So Noah, do we have good connection? We're good to move forward?
Yeah, we got good connection.
All right. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to start. I'm going to start by opening up my kit here. Nice thing about flying wings is basically it's just a wing. We're going to build this wing. I'm going to be powering this off of a Power Pack F, and we'll see if we have time to even take it up where it's made later on today, how much time we have. But the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and pop out all of our pieces. So if you haven't done that already, go ahead and do so. Make sure you have your hot glue gun all plugged in. We'll identify the pieces and then we'll get started. You're going to notice on a lot of our speed build kits, some of the real special ones, we even include a decal kit, and this one does come with that. We have a hardware pack right here. This hardware pack is going to have more than what we need, so make sure you save those extra push rods, the extra Velcro, control horns, firewall, things like that. You can definitely use those in the future. And here we go. And Noah, if we get any questions or anything, just feel free to shout out whenever you want, okay?
Absolutely.
You're going to see that we have two different options here. I'm going to be building this for line of sight, so I'm going to be popping out this piece right here with that little hole. We get our wingtips. I always like to save the extra foam. It's really good to make squeegees out of, but also do any kind of repairs you may need. That's the battery charger. Sorry about that.
Germany is watching.
Germany's watching?
Germany.
Hey, by the way, this is kind of the first timeline we've done where it's been a Saturday and it's been at 6 o'clock. Does everyone like that time? We're trying to figure out a time that's all around just kind of okay for people. I don't know what time it is in Germany. All right, let's lay this out here. No, you have a second to give me a top down, brother?
Yep, there you go.
Perfect. Get the wingtip. Okay, so believe it or not, if I'm not crazy, this is pretty much all the pieces we're going to need for this whole entire kit. We have our left and right wing, we have our inner spars, we have our front center nose pod, we have our wingtips, we have our top hatch, and then here we have our throw gauge, And we also have basically a reflex gauge, the gauge that we're going to need to get the proper amount of reflex in here. So let's go ahead and clear everything off. What we're going to focus on first is going to be our main spars here, and then we'll focus on the wings. So we'll go and stack this all together, put this off to the side. And I'm going to be using our hobby knife that's included in our crafty kit. But one thing I like to do is I like to dull the very tip of the blade. And one thing that does for us is when we dull the tip of the blade on a piece of sandpaper or on concrete, it keeps us from going through the facing paper. And this makes it really easy to be able to score the paper without going all the way through it. So our two main spars here, these are going to be A-folds. We're going to start by just go ahead and just doing a quick, careful score cut right down, getting as close as the paper is to the possible. You don't want to go through that facing paper on the very bottom, but if you do, don't worry, we can always repair it with a piece of tape. Let's do
I
it.
love that this is just like a build video.
Is it? Well, then they're going to be used to all the different takes I got to do, huh? So speaking of build videos, today is the day that the FAA was going to announce that anything over 250 grams required remote ID. Now, we're still looking for some clarity, but they pushed that back to March. But it doesn't mean that they're not enforcing it, it's just they're doing it at their discretion. I'm saying all this stuff to basically say what I'd like to do is design a whole line of sub 250 models. And we do currently have quite a few of them, from the Mighty Mini Scout, the Mini Old Fogey, the Mini Speedster, and I think even the Mini F-22 is sub 250. But what I'd like to do is look at a lot of these other planes and get them as big as possible, but still be under 250, so you don't need any other components on there. You don't have to worry about FRIAs or how you fly. So let us know in the comments below if you guys like that idea, and also if you do like that idea, what planes would you guys like to see designed and put out that are sub 250, and then we'll do our best to make that happen. All right, so what I'm doing right here is I'm opening up these channels, and these channels basically give us the ability to do an A-fold or a B-fold. An A-fold is where the side plates are above the bottom plate, and a B-fold is where the side plates are beside the bottom plate. And this gives us the ability to do a lot of really cool things with this foam, but it also makes the foam incredibly strong. Typically, when you're seeing spars and things that require strength, you're going to see me designing with an A-fold because it gives a little bit more strength. I'm going to go ahead and open up this other cavity. Easiest way to do that after you've scored it is simply fold it over 180 degrees and then roll it out with your finger. So David behind me is working on something really, really cool. If you guys know, we love our orbit and we're revisiting that. We got a pretty cool project here, and we learned so much from the Flutog plane. We took everything we've learned and we're putting it into a new orbit, and this thing is going to look and hopefully fly incredible. Let me go ahead and pop these out. No, I almost said, go ahead and pause the video and make sure your pieces look exactly like this. But guess what? We don't have a pause button here. So I'm just going to give you guys a second. Anytime we have to pause, if you have a question, I would love to try to answer it, or one of our other team members can. This is going to be really fun. All right. You know, while we're at it, let's go ahead and open up the channel on our Power Pack 2. It's sitting right here. Oh, that's funny. There we go. Awesome. All right, now that we have our channels done, we're going to do an A-fold. And before we do any kind of glue joints, we always go ahead and practice that. Whether we built one plane or we built 100 planes, it's just a good idea to make sure everything fits properly. So I'm going to focus first on this main spar. For an A-fold, like I said, we're going to keep our side plates against the table, and we're going to fold the bottom plate underneath it. So our side plate is against the table, we're folding our bottom plate up 90 degrees. If you guys are really concerned about getting exactly 90 and you don't have things like triangles, we have a really good crafty kit that gives you everything from the glue gun to the knife to triangles to hot glue sticks, markers, tape, everything. So it's a really easy way to build it. So that's good. I'm going to go ahead and go on the other side. That fits perfectly. Got plenty of glue. This is our FT300 glue gun, and I like to set this just at medium or a hair below. This gives us a lot of ability to have a nice steady stream of glue, but it's not so hot that we can't work with our fingers, and also doesn't bubble up on us. So I'm going to go ahead and start my glue about 1/4 inch from the edge. I'm going to carry this all the way over, and I'm focusing the majority of that glue right on the very bottom of our side plate, and I'm stopping about 1/4 inch. This is going to keep it from spilling over easily. Now that we have that glue down, I'm just simply going to rotate this up 90 degrees, and we're going to hold it there.
So I do have a question for you, Dad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jeff Coe asks,
Hi, Jeff.
What's the best thing to stop the paper from coming off the edge of the aileron, etc.? It seems like I always have paper coming loose.
Yeah, delamination's a real issue, especially with different papers have different strength on the facing paper, and it peels after a little while. You can use a couple different things. You can actually take hot glue, and you can take a scrap piece of foam and cut a little channel in it, like this. And what I like to do, whenever I have hot glue, and I'll actually show this on one of our scrap pieces, is I'll put down a piece of glue and then I'll rub that channel right over top like this. And it'll push that hot glue right down into there, and it'll actually seal everything up and give it a nice clean edge. You can also use Zap Canopy glue. It's incredible. You just simply put it on, wipe it down, a couple drops goes a long way, and it's like a really quick dry and rubberized glue. And that works really well too. Yeah, it's we're trying to get facing paper that has better adhesion. It's just always been a challenge to not let it eventually delaminate. So doing those quick, simple steps can really give you a little extra life. Great question. All right, I'm doing the other side here, and then we're going to repeat the exact same process on the other side. Jason's flying around our tiny whoop here, and we're testing out the new pocket radio. We're going to be bringing in the pocket radio here as soon as possible. We have the order done, and that pocket radio is phenomenal, especially with the tiny whoops and the Guardians. If you guys are looking and you haven't gotten the tiny whoop yet, they are incredible. We got them available in our store. All right, we're going to do the exact same process on the other spar here. Again, we're just doing a quick test here on both sides. That looks great. Still got plenty of glue. And like I said, I always like to focus on the bottom of the plate, starting and stopping about 1/4 inch from the edge. Any other questions, Noah? We're good?
Not so far.
Awesome.
You're all good.
All right, there's one side. And there we go. While we're at it, let's go ahead and take our power pod here and just simply do our A-fold as well. Again, these are the side plates. Here's the bottom plate. We'll do our quick test fit here. That looks good. And that looks good. We'll go ahead and put a bead of glue down. Rotate up 90 degrees and hold. I always think you are my sunshine in my head. That's a really good way to give yourself enough time to be able to let the glue fully dry before moving on to the next step. All right. Friends, do me a favor. If I'm getting ahead of you or tracking too fast or you need something repeated, please feel free to let us know. We're building along with you. This isn't a video that has to go at a certain pace. We want to make sure that the people are building along, that we're going at your pace. So feel free to slow us down. We can answer questions. We can do things like that to give you plenty of time to catch up. All right, so we have our main spars. We have our power pod. Let's go ahead and put our attention now onto our main wing sections. Now you're going to notice right where the wing sections are folded that this is going to be our leading edge. And then also on this very back, these are going to be the hinge lines for our elevon. What I'm going to do is you want to definitely make sure that you have a nice sharp blade. If we're using our flight test knife, you can actually detent this in. It has two different detents. 1, 2, 3, and then all the way open. We can detent this one in, and that makes it perfect to be able to hold in your hand. And if you all have never done a bevel cut before, it's incredibly simple, but you do want to practice on some scrap foam. The way we're going to do our bevel cut is we're going to set our knife just above the facing paper in the middle. We're not going to hold our knife at a 90-degree angle. We're going to hold this at an acute angle, just like you see here. Maybe it's a obtuse angle, depending on what side you go on. And then I like to kind of put the edge of my knife resting up against the bottom of the foam, and this gives us the ability to go right along that paper all the way through. Now if you cut through the paper, I do that sometimes too, don't worry, you can always fix that with a piece of tape. It's not going to make any difference in how it flies. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Again, I'm just kind of resting that right above the facing paper. You don't have to get right down on top of the facing paper first time. All we're simply doing is making it so the wing can easily fold over. There we go. A good way to find out if you did enough of a bevel cut is to make sure that you can easily lift this up at 90 degrees without any pushback. If you can't lift it up to 90 degrees without any pushback, go ahead and cut a little bit more out of it. Let's go ahead and now do a single bevel on our back elevon. And to do that, we're going to fold our elevon over 180 degrees and do the exact same process, except this time we're only doing a single bevel, not a double bevel.
All right, Lee Child was wondering, what's the fastest you've flown an RC plane?
The fastest? Oh my golly. Well, I've gotten an opportunity to fly some amazing people, especially from Horizon. I believe it was Ali Machinsi let me fly his turbine jet. I think that flew like 120, 140 miles an hour. But I think as far as one of ours goes, it's about 120. Believe it or not, you can get foam poured up really quick. Dave, we should do another 100 mile an hour under $100 challenge.
I love that idea.
You like that?
Yeah.
Would you guys like to see that? Would that be fun?
Although I've had some bad experiences with flying fast.
Yeah. I think our last one was with the Goblin, if I'm not mistaken. We always revisit.
I flew a Rare Bear on 6S.
Oh my gosh.
Through like, I don't know, six trees outside.
Five trees at Edgewater? 6 trees. It made an epic sound though, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you're doing a control surface bevel, it's really important if you have any kind of resistance when you're pushing it down, make sure you go back here and get your cut line closer to the paper. You can even use a piece of sandpaper and sand this down, but you want this basically laying right on the paper with no resistance. Now, just as that other nice gentleman mentioned here, paper can delaminate over time from the control surfaces. We're going to do a hot glue hinge, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to open it up. I've already cut a little piece of foam scrap into a sharp angle. I'm going to lay my hot glue gun right over top of that hinge line. I'm going to go right down the hinge line, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my scrap piece of foam and I'm going to push it right down into that paper and that foam. I don't want any extra hot glue on there. I just basically want to push it into the paper and the foam and leave no extra residual. I like to lick the tip of my finger here and go right over that hot glue, and what it does is it takes away that tackiness. And that way, when it's fully dry, it doesn't stick and it still moves nice and easy. Let's go ahead and now do the exact same process on the other wing, and then we can put our spars together and start making our wing look like it is now to an actual aero wing. All right, so just for a recap here, this is our leading edge. We're going to do a double bevel. Let me just show you, in case you don't have this hobby knife, let me show you how you guys can hold just a standard razor blade in your hand too. We really want to give you guys the right tools, but we want you to be able to have a good experience with whatever tools you're using. I like razor blades like this. So again, I'm holding the knife at a very acute angle. I'm not holding it like this. I'm not holding it like this. You can see it's a very sharp angle. I'm gripping it here, and I'm always making sure my fingers are out of the way, and I'm looking ahead of where I'm cutting, and I'm using my lower finger as a guide. Now with our kits, we have lots of extra scrap. This is a really great thing to just practice over and over and over again. We don't want you just building our speed build kits, but we also want you designing and scratch building too. So these techniques are really good whether you're building one of our kits or someone else's. All right, same process as before.
So, Dad, I am seeing in the chat, how can, with this, was it 250 gram?
Yeah.
Could you get the arrow down that low?
So we were actually talking about that offline. This here weighs, what was it, 290 with the battery?
Yeah, it's 290.
290.
Yeah.
And one of the things we're going to try is to actually show you how you can do this on this video, but I haven't tested it. But here's what I'm thinking. I think we could take a stock arrow, we can tear out all the facing paper on the inside, put a power pack A, and then put a 2-cell 800 milliamp or a 2-cell 600 milliamp battery on there. As long as it'll balance, I think that would be just enough to get under the limits. But frankly, I think it'd be underpowered. I'm not too sure yet, but that's something I do think we can get this down low enough. What I'd like to do is just shrink the whole airframe down just a little bit, keep its great tendencies, and then give you guys a build experience, but still this is big. But if you have a little extra glue and stuff, it's not going to put you over 250. But I think it could be done. I mean, it's light. One thing that's crazy is our new F-Pack radials, not even the Power Pack FSEs, they are ridiculously strong. Like it's crazy power. When I tested this off of the F-Pack, I wasn't prepared for how much power there was. So you could really go to a Power Pack A, have unlimited vertical, a great experience on a 3-cell, but it would still be above 250 grams. I think this whole 250 gram rule is absolutely ridiculous. There's no science backing it. But what I'd love to do is give you guys a bunch of designs to still give you maximum fun under that weight limit, where people are like, that's under 250, that's cool. But also when you're flying it, it doesn't rob you of any of the enjoyment or the experience. So just let us know what kind of planes you'd like to see. This winter is building season. Nice thing with these simple planes, they're easy to build, and if you like build videos like this and these live builds, we could do those kind of things more often. All right, I'm gonna do my hot glue hinge. The biggest thing, friends, I don't want anyone to do is please don't get discouraged in the hobby. We need more than ever to get this hobby into schools. We need families doing this together. We need friends connecting and making memories through this. Don't let these current regulations discourage you from enjoying the hobby. Again, there we go.
We have a question from Jeff Coe. He's been making 3D printed parts for like his arrows and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's wondering if that can throw CG off, which it can. You have to be careful, you know, where you're putting weight and how you're adding it and taking it away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And there's a lot of, is it Thingiverse? And I think even our forums, there's a lot of 3D printed pieces. There's a whole 3D printed section for the center that is awesome. And I believe there's like wing plates and scoops and stuff like that you can put on. Okay, I'm gonna just pop out these little servo holes here. Just get those out of my way ahead of time. What's wrong?
Lee's in the chat.
Lee's on the chat?
Yeah.
Is he making trouble from afar? Hi, Lee.
He's making trouble.
That's okay, I love Lee. He can make trouble. Okay. All right, so before we go any further here, we're kind of at a dividing road, and I'm guessing most of you guys are going to do exactly what I'm going to do. You have the option, if you're going to be building this as a slope soar or just a conventional wing where it meets in the center, to just continue on. But you're going to notice here on our kit, we have this etch line. Noah, could you give me a top down real quick?
Yep.
Thanks, buddy. You're going to notice right along here, and on the plans I believe it'll be indicated as a blue line, we have this etch line right here. If you want to use the center pod that you see right here, you're going to need to go ahead and cut that out at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and take my knife, and it's not a straight line, it's basically kind of curves around, and we're going to cut that out right now. Oops, I got to flip my knife around, I got my dull blade. Yeah, the only time I ever did it was literally when I wanted to have a slope soar. And it was like, well, this is kind of crazy. If like people want to do a slope soar, why would they want the center pod? Because it's so cool looking, you know? So, yeah. It's funny, what we know now, David, what we could be doing and stuff, I think a lot of these planes deserve to become version 2s, you know?
Yeah, I could see that being a possibility for sure. Maybe get some more strength in the center spar. And
Exactly. Well, and like the geodesic nature of what you're doing and also like the flirkins, we could make that center section pretty epic.
yeah,
Where it goes, you know.
make
And,
it more like a B2 look or something.
yeah, yeah. So maybe we'll do that. Okay, let's do the other side here. Anyone saying I'm going too fast? Am I staying on speed okay?
Yeah, everyone's good.
Okay, cool. So Dave can attest to this. When you start building these arrows, you can put one together in what, 30 minutes, Dave?
Yeah, it takes about 30 minutes.
There we go. Okay, put that away. All right, friends, so we now have our wing sections here. Let's go ahead and put our attention towards the spars. You're going to see that the spars basically only line up one way. So when we line this up, if your servo is going the opposite direction of the slot in the top of the wing, you know that goes to the other side here. So make sure that your spar lines up right over that hole right here. Now this is going to go perfectly in between the two score lines, and you're going to see this end sticks out. That's because if we want to do that conventional slope storing version of the arrow, we would go ahead and just have this go into the tip and then cut that at the right angle. I'm happy with that. I'm going to put my glue well inside the two edges here because I don't want it to squeeze out necessarily. There we go. The tip of the spar is not going to go all the way to the tip of the wing. All I'm looking at now is making sure that I'm in between these two score cuts going all the way down. And then I can press down and hold. Let's go ahead and do that on the other wing too. Again, I'm going to line it up here. Sorry if I stuck my head in the camera.
Yeah, we've got somebody from Iceland saying greetings.
Oh, nice. Hello, friend. It's really cool how the Flight Test family is worldwide. Asgard, Germany, and Iceland, friend. What time is it there? It has to be either late or really early. I think it's like 8 hours, isn't it?
At least 6. 5 or 6. At least 6.
6 hours? Here we go.
It's after midnight.
Wow. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Okay, our two spars are on here. Let's go ahead and trim off the excess here. And all we need to do is we just need to flip this over, and I'm going to run my blade right along that cut that I just did, all the way down. Now take your time to make sure that you're keeping your blade nice and 90 degrees. Here's one side, and here's the other. That side, and there we go. Okay. Now you're going to notice that we have this top skin and we have these extra score cuts along here. Let's go ahead and do a practice fold over, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the flats of our hands to spread nice and wide, and we're just going to let each score cut naturally crease over. And if you have a little extra glue around the spars, just give it a little bit of help. But what we want to see is we want to see the spar, I'll show you the top on camera, we want to see the spar flat up against the bottom and the top skin parallel to the bottom skin. If we do that right, our hinge line is going to be nice and parallel on the back. So now that we practice that and we hold that down and we confirm that our hinge line on the back is nice and parallel, our spars meeting down flat up against the lower surface of the wing, let's go ahead and lock in that airfoil. And I'm just about out of hot glue, but I think I have just enough. I got a whole thing around here somewhere. Yeah, right here. We're good. Always check your hot glue sticks before you put down hot glue. All right. All I'm doing is I'm just putting a real thin ribbon of glue in each one of those score cuts. And what that's going to do is when I fold this over and hold it into place, that's going to help lock in that airfoil. And that's really important because that gives us the ability to give the wing a lot of extra strength and also keep its form and keep it consistent versus trying to hold this down and maybe move it a little bit. So give this about one You Are My Sunshine, about 30 to 45 seconds. Let it dry. And then we'll open it up and then we'll lock it down for good.
So we just had a comment that I saw that brought back memories.
Yeah.
It was your table is your friend.
Table's definitely your friend. I mean, I feel bad saying that because I'm cutting up this table like crazy, but yes, anytime you can use the table as your friend, it keeps you from gluing things wrong, it keeps you from burning your fingers, keeps your pieces nice and straight. That should really be a shirt. Okay. Now I definitely need an extra hot glue stick. Had a lot of people ask this question and I can answer it. They're going to notice that our Flight Test glue sticks are milky white. And if you guys remember the early days of flight tests, I told you specifically with the AdTech glue sticks, if it's milky white, don't use it because that's a sign that there's moisture in it. Now, over the years, we were given the opportunity to be able to make our own glue sticks. These glue sticks are milky white because they have binders in them. It's a lot less like a rubber glue stick and more like plastic. And this is for our friends in hotter climates that maybe have problems where when the plane goes in the car and it's 98 degrees outside and super hot in the car, their planes would just come unglued. These have a higher melt temperature. You can still melt it with lower temperature glue guns like mid temperature, but this is amazing on the way it holds. It's much more plasticky, less rubbery, and that's why it has that white tinge to it. So it's not a bad glue stick. The reason it's colored is because of those binders. Okay, so you can see that we have our airfoil. Nice airfoil there. We're going to focus our glue on the top of the spars, in the center of the leading edge, and then on the very back of the trailing edge of the lower wing skin. So let's go ahead and do that now. Again, I like to start and stop right at the very, almost to the very edge, about a 1/4 inch from the edge. You don't need to rush this. You have plenty of time for the glue to dry. One reason I like this FT300 is it puts out a ton of hot glue. Not quite as much as the AdTech 300, but enough for any project we have. And the nice thing is, since you can adjust the temperature, you don't get those evil bubbles that I always hate. Now we're going to go over. I'm focusing most of my pressure right on top of that spar, and then I'm just using my thumbs to hold down. Notice that I'm not putting any direct pressure. I'm not pushing hard at this. I'm just giving gentle, widespread pressure. If you poke down too much, you're going to dent your foam. It'll still fly good, but you'll see the dents in it.
So we were talking back here in the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
We've done a couple of live builds of planes and everything. What are would anyone else love anything else other than just a live build? Maybe like a talk around the campfire kind of thing. And
I would like that.
I think that's a.
What about a quad build, like a Tiny Whoop or a Guardian or something?
I like the quad build.
Because that's when Jason just taught me how to work with ELRS. What, about an hour ago, Jason?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of stuff is so intimidating until you have a friend taking you through it. So I love that idea. Cool. That looks wonderful. So you're going to notice here, our hinge line is nice and parallel on the back. It's all firm, no gaps to the trailing edge. And our main spar is glued on the top and the bottom, and these two skins are parallel to each other. It's exactly what you want to see. Let's go ahead and take this time. You're going to notice that this top skin right here is overhanging a little bit. Let's just take our knife. We're going to line up with the very bottom here, and you can go from the bottom or the top. It doesn't really matter. I'm actually going to just do it with this. It'll be easier. And cut this nice and flush. This. Yeah, absolutely. Can you see that? There it is. So it's just at where it says medium, just a touch below.
Miller Time donated $10.
Who is that?
Miller Time.
Oh man, is that Jason Miller?
Yes.
Love you, Jason. So friends, if you ever hear about us talking about the Edgewater flight crew, that's David, Jason over here, Miller Time, oh my gosh, Wes, Jeff Poole, Flying Hawaiian, Keith, a lot of great people. And what we want to do is what we call the flight crew. You remember we also have the Flight Fest flight crew. Those are the people that when they kind of adopt an area, they're the ones that fly the least and help the most. So our hope is as we build different flying sites or different flying groups, not clubs, is that every basically location has a different flight crew. And that flight crew is the volunteers that help maintain the grounds, help be a friendly face. Even Nicole over here is a friendly face that just keeps everyone happy and moving around. That's the vision we want to see for flying groups, not necessarily a club mentality with a hierarchy, but a group of people that kind of adopt a location and the main focus is helping each other. So We want to see that grow over the years. We're trying to help as many as possible establish FRIAs, so there's no burden of extra electronics for remote ID. And they're starting to finally be approved, and we're finding patterns that we'll be sharing with you. Let's go ahead and do the same process now on the other side. Am I keeping on an okay pace? Any problems with anybody?
I haven't seen anybody really say anything.
Good. Whoops, I dropped my little thingy here. There we go. All right, same process as before, friends. Thin ribbon and glue on the score cuts. Now fold this over. Again, we're making sure that our wing here, wherever the spar is parallel, we're holding this down, letting it take its shape.
End Ha, I think is his name. Sorry if I messed that up. Was saying something about wanting to see recordings of people flying out at Edgewater and just a normal flying club. Actually, the flight crew has that on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you go to Edgewater Air Park Flight Crew, you can check it out. There's a lot of videos of just random people out here flying and just everybody having fun.
No, you're trying to get live. I know you and Robert are trying to also get like a live cam that can, like the flight crew can turn on and off, right?
Yeah, we're hopefully, over the winter we're really gonna play with it, but it's gonna be on the flagpole out there. So
Cool.
We're working on that, and hopefully mounting some cameras. So as we're like, building some, kind of like the giant orbit back here.
Yeah.
We're hoping to, have it to where we could turn on that live camera and you guys see us, working behind the scenes.
We always got lots of ideas. It's just hard to bring them all to reality. So please give us patience. We love engaging with you guys. I will definitely give a shout out to the Edgewater Flight Crew too. Their YouTube channel that they do here and their clips. It's exactly what we want to see at many locations. You put it in the chat board? Thank you. I don't want Flight Test to be the only channel that celebrates flight. I want to see a whole network of locations of our community all across America and the world showcasing just how they enjoy flight and how they use it to impact people in a positive way. So I think that's a special thing, and lots of you guys are doing that already. All right. Man, I love how quickly these go together. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, Dave was the one that suggested that we do this, and I'm really happy because it's been a while.
Yeah, put it in the chat, what are some other live stream, live builds, things that you guys want to see us do? Because, winter is coming, and what do you always say about that?
It's building season.
That's definitely building season.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned doing a build with a younger child.
Oh, that would be cool.
Like a step kid or something.
You know what would be awesome is that we were coming out with new Easy Packs. We have a new version 2 Easy Pack. We'll bring over some of the planes, and it's actually not my design. It's Ben Harbor's, and we have other community members contributing to it. We're writing a curriculum for it, and then that goes out for both our community and also for schools. This next one coming out is the Nature Pack, and you gonna try to throw it? Oh, okay. You should try to fly it. So we got the flying squirrel. This is now my all-time favorite. The Orbit was my favorite. This is now in a tie for it. We got the eagle. And we got the butterfly. So Ben, if you're watching this right now, or anyone knows Ben, was he? All right. I'll give you a long, awkward hug, brother, because these are amazing. I cannot wait to get these out. They fly incredible. And the new Easy Pack V2 has a ton more power, which gives us the ability to go back to these now, build bigger airplanes, and more variety of them too. So it's really incredible. All right, back to our arrow here. You're gonna notice I just flipped this upside down, and I'm doing just a quick test fit here, and I'm gonna shingle one side of the wing over the other side. And we're just doing a practice fit here, but that's gonna be how we're gonna wanna glue or tape this together. Now over here, I got my 2-inch tape. The easiest way to do this, it doesn't matter really what side you do, is just put the tape on one half. And then I'm gonna line this up, and notice I'm lifting up that tape. I'm shingling it under, there we go. I'm pushing it together, and then I'm pressing it down. This gives us a really nice joint that we can now tape together. or glue together. So I got a little hinge here. Now I can go right to the top. I'm going to put a really healthy bead of glue right down here. I want this to squeeze out a little bit. I'm going to go flat to my table. And like that one nice gentleman said, the table is our friend. We're going to hold that nice and straight. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of foam here. No, did we run out of internet juice? It looks like it's frozen. Do we pay our bills?
No, that camera's been giving us some trouble.
Oh, okay. All right, so I don't know if it froze on you or not, but basically, we're just scraping off any extra glue. And once this glue is dried, I'm going to cut off any extra tape as well, too. Here's one side, and here's the front side. All right, give this plenty of time to dry, because if we pick this up and this gets weak here, this is one of the main joints that gives the wing its strength. You don't want this to be weak, because then the wing will kind of get floppy on you. One thing we can do while this is drying here is we can take our blade perfectly perpendicular to the bottom edge, and I want to run this down over this center part here. And I'm just going to trim just a little bit off of each side of the center pod here. And this is just to kind of let the center pod be able to meet up easily with the edge of the wing and get the most surface area possible. So you can see right here and right here, I just went ahead and made those areas nice and straight. Okay. So at this point, our main wing's really taking shape nicely here. The next step we're going to do is we're going to kind of push this aside, and we're going to start working on our center pod. You trying to get another angle? Oh, did the top down go bad?
I think so.
All right. Well, I'll go to this camera here. This is going to be our center pod. Forgive me for drinking coffee. I'm tired. Not much of a difference. Do you want to go on this table and go down? Or even on the edge of this table?
We'll do it.
Noah's adapting and overcoming.
We shall do it.
I'll keep on going. I can explain this to this camera here. Here's our center pod here. We're first going to start by removing these two tabs here. And then again with our knife, we're going to remove the paper out of these two inner channels and also this top tab. Just pull that paper off. Is that the camera from my office?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I break things. All right. Again, we're folding over 180 degrees on each side. You can pop out these two little tiny holes on the inside here if you plan on putting any of the more complicated FPV equipment. That's made to go inside the wing, and those wires can then route in through here. But in this case, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. You're going to notice here that there's a little tiny tab of paper, and this is just going to be a clean little fold over. All I want to do is I'm going to put a bead of glue right down on my fold over. I'm going to take a scrap piece of our foam. I'm going to hold this down 90 degrees. Give it about 15 seconds. Go over the rest of the way and then hold that down.
Don't mind me.
Oh, you're fine. Is it giving you a problem?
This is called adapting.
You know, it's kind of dark right there anyway, so you blend in.
There you go. I'm not even
So-
here.
It's like green screen.
Yeah.
I love it. Dustin Hanlon said, don't forget the doubler. There's a reason why I didn't pick a plane with a doubler. I would love to do a Scout XL build, but that would probably be better to be like just the airframe, and then they put their own electronics in. Yeah, because that would get dry pretty quickly. I love it. Lee Child asked about how about a pterosaur build. There's something kind of cool about the pterosaur. You don't build it. You just pull it out of the box, put the battery in, and fly it. So no real building on that. It'd be kind of fun to do a pterosaur live fly though, because those things are awesome. You doing okay, Noah? Okay. So now that we have our channels opened here, we're going to go ahead and do our A-folds once again. And again, our A-folds are going to be where the side plate is on the bottom And we're going to fold it up 90 degrees. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, you're fine. If they're expecting high production value, they obviously haven't watched our channel too much, huh?
Welcome to Flight Test.
Welcome to Flight Test.
I'm just hoping it doesn't fall on you.
Oh, it's fine if it does.
Come on.
Let's see. I'm in the middle schooler, and I'm on your forum. Let's see. Yes, need more lighting on his face. Do I have a dark face?
Yeah, it's because of the shadow from the pod racer.
Oh, I gotcha. Hey, there's a light bar in the thing. Thank you, guys. All right, let's put some glue down. I'm going to focus my glue on the bottom of the side plate. We're going to rotate it up 90 degrees, and we're going to hold it in place. How's the orbit coming, Dave?
What's that?
The orbit going good?
Yeah, it's
Cool.
going pretty good. I'm waiting for a print for
Cool.
the landing gear. What do you think? Is that proper gas tape?
That is proper gas tape.
Only the best.
I'll do the best. Spare no expense. All right, one side's down. Let's do the other. Hey, Dave, is anyone saying they're being left behind without the extra camera angle?
No, I haven't seen any.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Dennis, 5618. Did you see what he just said?
Yeah, I was just
All
reading
right.
that one.
Yeah.
So actually, our good friend Jason McQuiston, the laser master down at our manufacturing building, he's working on a canard design.
Oh, he's done with it.
Well, yeah, it's
amazing.
done. We're just waiting to release it. So
Yeah.
look for it soon. I think we're going to call it what, the Space Fighter?
Starfighter.
Starfighter.
Yeah. So, and by the way, it's my fault because he's had this done for probably 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, it was supposed to release the same time as the RV was.
Yeah.
And it
Timing.
just didn't happen.
Yeah. So, long story short, we're going to get out. It's incredible. It flies off of either a budget bee or a standard bee. The budget bee gives it some real sauce, and it flies incredible. His youngest son, Andrew, incredible pilot, but the way he makes that thing fly is incredible. Okay. Are we good? Is the top down working now?
No.
Okay, don't worry about it. All right, so we have our pod here. Please, friends, let us know in the comments if you need a different angle or you're not seeing this clear enough. You're going to see the tabs on the bottom of the pod. When you line them up with the tabs in the wing, will line up nicely, and you can just simply align it and be able to press it down in there. Make sure that you can easily fit this in, and then also that the edges of the pod can spread open and push flat up against the wing surface. If it has a gap or there's any kind of foam keeping it from going flat up against the wing, trim that out before gluing it in. This looks really good. So let's go ahead and we'll lift this up. And now we're going to place a healthy bead of glue on the flat surfaces, not on the tabs, but on the flat surfaces on the bottom of the pod.
Sorry. I'm trying. Okay?
This is Flight Test. There we go. I think it would be really cool with our Easy Line to do like some school builds too. Okay. So I'm just lining up these tabs. Again, I'm not rushing anything at all. There it is. Yeah, show it, Dave. Here.
It's a little beat up, but
Yeah,
so this is the new canard design.
yeah. So it's safe to say between Dave and Jason, if I us tomorrow,
Camera's falling over.
there's going to be plenty of planes. I wish they could see this. Oh my gosh.
Now there's a giant boom.
So that's the Starfighter, and it flies as cool as it looks.
Yeah, and actually you can get real crazy with it and do dual servos in the front and some crazy mixing, and
Yeah.
it goes insane.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So that'll be out. I think that actually flies pretty darn well in high alpha, so like the big indoor arenas,
Yeah, yeah.
that does well. So.
Is it better?
I don't know.
Check the angle. Here, I'll hold it.
All right. How's that looking? Noah, you are a trooper.
That was
That camera thing.
All right, let me get another hot glue stick. What's that?
It'll be all right.
He's got to stand there.
Could you give me the chair? Or
You want this chair? Yeah. Oh, here, take this chair. There you go.
Thanks.
Can you get it okay? Oh my gosh, I wish I could see this. Oh,
Here. Is that good? Good.
that's a fine C-stand. Yeah, Dustin knows the C-stands. Okay, we're good? What do you need?
We got to talk out. No, it's good.
No, that's good. It's good.
We're
We're
good.
good?
We're good.
Okay.
There it is.
All right, that's great.
Actually, I like that better than the other one.
Yeah, I like that better too. Okay. So friends, we have our center pod glued in here. While we were holding this down, I was just keeping constant pressure, keeping this nice and open here as it glued down because we don't want this to go inside too much. If it curves in too much, our hatch is going to be too tight. Now what we can do is we can put a healthy bead of glue right on each edge. And this is where a huge portion of our strength comes in for this plane. I'm just going to take a scrap piece of foam, I'm pressing it down into the gap and smearing off the excess. Let's grab one more here. And while this is drying, I'm just keeping nice pressure, keeping these perpendicular right up against the wing. I'm going to do this one at a time just to make sure I get the best glue joint possible. All right, let's do another one here. There we go. Oops, there we go. Grab a piece of foam. Let's see if I can get this close to there. You're going to notice that both sides are perpendicular, and I'm putting a little bit of outward pressure, just keeping it against the wing. Okay. So we're actually getting ready to go. We're actually getting ready to go into electronics now, and the electronics we're going to be using is the PowerPack F. Now the PowerPack F is really good for some crazy, incredible speed. You can go 3-cell or 4-cell, but keep in mind if you go 4-cell, you're going to have to get the tiny little 600 milliamp 4-cell battery. 3-cell is tremendous speed, unlimited vertical. You know, I think it's all most people are going to need. There we go. Now, if you're new to the hobby and you want to be able to get into this and you want your first wing experience, don't worry about the PowerPack F or the PowerPack FSE. Go straight to the PowerPack A. The PowerPack A is going to give you roughly a similar amount of thrust that we got back on the original 2204, and that's going to give you plenty of power to be able to learn how to fly, but also speed to keep the airplane fun. And that is also 4-cell capable. Just make sure you go down to a 5-inch prop. Okay, let's go ahead and grab our PowerPack F. If you're new to the hobby or new to flight test, basically we have common power packs, and those power packs can go from many different airplanes. So if you have a PowerPack F, you got about 15 to 20 different airframes you can choose from that those electronics will power. PowerPack A, similar, it's about 15. PowerPack B, about 25, 30. And PowerPack C, almost 40 different designs. We even have a PowerPack XL, but we currently only have about 2 different designs, but don't worry, we'll be creating some more. The whole goal of this is to give you everything you need, but also knowing that you're going to crash, knowing that you're going to go ahead and go onto another airframe, might as well have electronics that can go from plane to plane. And we use these power pods to be able to make that switching really easy. So let's go ahead and pop out our 2 servos. Our PowerPack F actually comes with 4. You don't need 4 in this application, you only need 2. But we also give a lot of extra goodies like linkage stoppers, servo extensions, a screwdriver in some of the kits, motor, props, everything you need minus receiver and battery. So if you're new to the hobby or new to DIY, this is definitely the way to go to make sure you get everything right out of the box. It's a great value. All right, so these are the servos for PowerPack A or PowerPack F. They're our Mighty Mini servos. They're 5 grams. I'm just going to open up both of these here. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and straighten out my extensions here on each one. Now, if you have a servo centering tool, this would be a really good time to center your servos and put on your servo arms. But if you don't have a servo centering tool, don't worry. I'm going to show you how you can do it with your receiver. Now, you have lots of different servo arms, and depending on where you are with the hobby, whether you're an experienced flyer or a newer flyer, depends on how much throw you want. But a lot of times people think more throw means more control, and that's simply not the case. In this case here, if you're looking for a good all-around experience where you can fly FPV, you can fly aerobatics, but it's not so sensitive that it's going to be getting you in trouble, the servo arm you're going to want to use is going to be the small little guy right here. Want to give me a top down, Noah? Tiny little fella, huh? There we go. I'm going to trim off 3 of the 4 arms here and leave the very smallest one there. So just 1, 2, and 3. Now our servo is going to point towards the rear trailing edge, and it's going to point towards the outside. I'm just going to go ahead and loosely fit this on, and I'm not going to worry about screwing this down quite yet, because when I power everything on, I can make sure they're centered. Now, as long as you don't move this, our servo should come pre-centered for you, so you don't have to worry about recentering them, but it's always a good idea to do that before bending your push rods to make sure that they don't accidentally move one way or the other. All we need to do now is we need to guide our servo end right in. We're going to just press it on forward here and pull it out the other side. And then we'll just sit that down in place. Same process on the other side here. It's always a good idea to save your extra screws. Our screw hardware, we give you a couple extra screws on our servo arms, or for our servo arms, and a couple extra screws to hold it down. But you're going to notice that most of our servos we actually glue in place. Again, we're going to go 90 degrees out. In this case, I'm not going to worry about screwing this down because we're going to center it once we put our receiver on. And we're going to guide it in. Noah, do we have any questions or anything? We good?
Not so far.
Awesome. There we go. I'm going to take all the servo arms. I'm going to put them over to the side. The smallest screws that you see in this kit are actually for the servo arms themselves. The longer ones, if you put those in to fasten down your servo arm, it's going to break your servo. So make sure that you keep those separate, and when we go to fasten those down, the very shortest little screws are going to be the ones that we use. So I'm just going to put this over on the far side here. There we go. And now I'm going to grab my hardware kit. And in my hardware kit, we have a couple firewalls and control horns, and we also have our push rods. Now these kits are kind of standardized, and we give you more material than what you need. So don't worry if you accidentally mess up bending a push rod or something like that, because you have plenty of material to do it again and again and again. I'm going to go ahead and crack open my control horns, blow off the extra dust. And it's also really important that I locate my little tiny reflex gauge that you see here. So here's my throw gauge. Here's my reflex gauge. This reflex gauge is going on the very back here, and that's going to help me know exactly how much reflex to be able to put into the wing to get the best flight characteristics. What I like to do here is I like to lift up my servo, and from the bottom, I'm going to push my Z-bend through. Notice I haven't done my servos yet because I can use those for some fine adjustments. Now I'm going to go ahead and press my control horn into place. And we do sell Z-bend pliers on our store, but I'm going to show you how to simply do a Z-bend with a pair of needle nose pliers or blunt nose pliers right here. I'll do the needle nose. It's a little bit overkill for the blunt nose. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my fingertip right at the very leading edge closest to the hinge line of where the hole passes through. So if you have the main hole for your control horn, I'm going to go to the very front of that hole, and I'll place my fingertip, and I'm going to put the needle nose right on that edge. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bend that 90 degrees, And if I did that correctly, what happens is the radius as I bend that is going to line up perfectly with that hole, and it does. Now, 3 millimeters in, I'm going to bend that vertically 90 degrees again. You have plenty of extra material. You can practice this over and over again. You can build a beautiful airplane. If routes are done poorly, you're not going to have experience and you're not going to have good control. So go ahead and take your time and make sure that you're happy with all the Z-bends. And with that done, you can bend that Z-bend. Z-bend by simply grabbing that and rotating it 90 degrees. Now I can push off my control horn and I can press this through. And you're going to notice here that when I hold my reflex gauge up, I'll just hold that right there like that. I can hold that and that's nice and straight. This gives us the ability I can move my servo or I can move my control horn just slightly, a millimeter either way, and be able to get the exact reflex I want. So now that we're happy with that, I'll place a bead of glue right down in here and glue my control horn first. I'm going to put that into place. There's no rush or anything. And now I can simply take my reflex gauge, I can hold that on there, and I can let it dry. Is the audio going in and out? My battery's good. Okay. Try to uncover my mic a little bit better. I got good battery. Oh, okay. Awesome. Thanks for the feedback. Okay. Okay. We're going to do the same process on the other side here. And this time I can just take the extra wire that I have and I'm going to do my Z-bend with that. Gripping it about a 1/4 inch in, getting 90 degrees. Going to go down 2 or 3 millimeters, 90 degrees again. There's our modified Z-bend. And now I can grab it and rotate it 90. Yeah. Is that what it is? How's that? You better? Okay. Same process as before. Gonna bottom. Where'd my little control horn go? There it is. Place my control horn in. And my fingertip right at the edge of the hole of the control horn. Keep in mind a little bit of reflex. There it is. Go right down there.
Jesse Perkins has joined the chat.
Jesse's here. Jesse. There we go. And finally, a bend down 90 degrees. So that's just a really easy way to be able to get a perfect Z-bend every time. Again, you can always practice on scrap pieces. But we still have, I think we still have 3 extra 4-inch pieces of wire here that you guys can use on future scratch builds, give to a friend. One really cool thing about when you buy one of our speed build kits, if you want to have a plane for life or that design for life, all you simply need to do is speed build kit. Take the items ready from the store or buy some flight test foam from us or maker foam, and then trace out your pieces before you build it. Then you have a pattern for life, and you take those pieces out or save those pieces and then be able to cut it out to make new wings. Okay, got my glue down here. We're going to hold that in place and let it dry. How are we doing?
Mike's still cutting in and out.
Is it? Sure. How's that? Do you want me to try reseating it? Is it possible because it's wireless? I'll put this up here. Okay. So friends, until we go ahead and we go power on the servos, we're going to hold off gluing down our 2 servos because we can make any kind of microfine adjustments. But one last thing I want to do on both sides here is I want to find my little zip ties. There should be 2 of them in this kit. Bend. Once you're happy with that, put a drop of glue right down in the center. And press it in. Let's do the same process now on the other side. Are you working on the extra audio? There we go. Okay, our push rods are done, our servos are in. Our next step here is we're going to go ahead and put our attention towards our main power pod. And for that, we're going to be using our little tiny firewall that's included with our control horns. We're just going to crack off any extra wood that we have. And that firewall is going to mount. If you look at where the A is, the top of the A is going to point towards the direction that the firewall is. Now forgive me, I got to remember here which side this goes on. It'd be the upper right. Okay. So here's the top of our A. This little tiny bevel that you see on the very top is going to go to the upper right. Make sure I got that right. Yep, upper right. Good. So if you're looking from the airplane pointing as if you're flying in the cockpit, this little tiny notch will be on the upper right. Just like that. Go ahead and pause that so you can see it. There we go. Okay. Now that we've lined that up, we're going to put a healthy bead of glue in. One common thing a lot of people do here is they don't put tape after they glue their firewall on, and it's really important to keep in mind that whenever you go ahead and glue your firewall on, that holds it down, but the tape really adds the strength and the durability. So make sure you don't neglect that step, where oftentimes when you land, you're just going to pop this piece right off. I'm going to let that sit there and dry. I'm going to grab about 6 inches of tape. I'm going to come right over this piece. Keep a nice steady pressure down. I'm going to cut off some extra here. And then just like wrapping a gift here, I'm just going to cut 2 relief cuts. One there, one there. I'll open the bottom, fold one flap down, fold the other flap down, and then finally the front flap. Now we have multiple different screw holes, and we're only going to need 2 screws to hold down the motor, whether it's at Power Pack A, which will use the vertical holes, or it's a Power Pack F, which will use the horizontal holes. Since we're using the Power Pack F, I'm just going to poke out the horizontal holes, and it's really important to make sure that you cut out the center hole in the middle. A lot of times people have problems with their motors cogging and getting really hot. It's because that center hole tape is dragging on the motor and causing it to wear. Make sure you cut that out so you don't build any extra wear on your motors or hurt them. All right. So this is our Power Pack F V2. And the really cool thing that you'll know that you have a Power Pack F V2, and you should by now, is that we give you a lot of extra goodies. One thing that you're going to get that you didn't get before is you get this nice nose spinner, you get a prop washer, and you also get a lock nut. Now it's up to you, but if you're going to be using a conventional counterclockwise prop, I would definitely recommend going with a lock nut. In this case, I'm going to go with the spinner nut just because I like it. But keep in mind, if you land with the spinner nut on a clockwise or counterclockwise prop, there's a good chance that you can pull it off. Let's see, did I grab my, up there, that's good. In our crafty kit, we have this really cool multi-tool. This multi-tool has a 2mm driver, it has a Phillips head, has 2.5, and it has a 1.5. I'm going to find the 2mm driver, put it in. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and pre-thread 2 of the screws through the back of the firewall. I like to thread these up just to where they're popping out by a thread or 2. Just enough to help with alignment. Hey, how's the sound now?
Better.
Better?
Yep.
Cool. Does anyone have any questions on the build or period?
A couple people saying, can you bring it up to the
Camera? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. All right, so you can see right there, I got my 2 screws started, and on the very edge, they're just poking through just a little bit. Now what I can do is with my wires favored on the top, I can line that up just like that. Once it's lined down, we can go ahead and, I like to start both of them before tightening any of them down. There we go. I missed my threads. Get that again. There we go.
This is the part of the build video that they don't get to see.
Yeah. There's 1, and there's 2. There you go, you can go to the top down. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and put my extra goodies off to the side by my servos. And I'm going to locate my ESC. Now, as time's gone on with our different power packs, we've been upgrading our ESCs, and this is our newest, latest, and greatest ESC that you should be getting now with all of our power pack kits. This is actually 25 amps, and it handles a punch of power with no problem and great cooling. It also has the newest, I believe it's Simon K, BL Holly Suite, yeah. It has the newest BL Holly Suite software. And a lot of people wonder what this extra little red connector is, this JST on the top. If you have accessories or anything, you want to be able to get battery voltage out without having to probe into the main battery connector. This little guy right here is fantastic. But keep in mind, you don't want to power your receiver on this, because if you put 3 cells here, which is 12.6 volts, you're getting 3 cells out of this little JST. Where this is exceptional is if you're powering things like LED lights, FPV gear, anything that can take battery voltage. Also, if you have to fly with the new remote IDs, the FT Easy ID has a connector that plugs right into this, so you can easily connect it and hop it from plane to plane. So we're going to make our connections between the ESC and our motor now. Doesn't matter whatever order is. A lot of times people say, what order do I have to plug in the motor to make it run right? If it runs backwards, all we simply need to do is reverse any 2 of the 3 wires. Let's go ahead and grab our receiver, and in this case I'm going to be using the little Spectrum 410. It's a little tiny 4-channel receiver. It has no antennas. It's really convenient to use. Let me go ahead and grab it. If you haven't already bound it, go ahead and bind it now. I'm going to keep everything separate just so it's out in the open, and then I can tuck it in and clean it up here once I have it working. Now for my Spectrum here, channel 1 is going to be my throttle. So first we have battery. You skip one, channel 1, and our signal wires is going to be pointing up. I'm now going to go to the left aileron, which is on this side here. I'll point it right here. Here's our left. And I'm going to plug that into port number 2. And then I'm going to go to my right aileron and plug that into port number 3. Now for our transmitter, make sure that you go into your model type and select Elevon. You have Elevon and Elevon B. In this case, this should work for Elevon's setting, but you will have to reverse both the left and right Elevon in your reversing to make it work. Hey Dave, could you grab me? I have the battery on charge. I'm sorry. Would you be able to grab me that battery? I'll clean up my mess here real quick. Thanks, brother. I forgot to grab it. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in here. Hopefully no magical smoke. All right, our controls are working. And our throttle's working. Now in our Power Pack F here, we have conventional counterclockwise props included. And again, you can choose to buy some clockwise props, but in this case, we just want to make sure that the numbers are pointing in the motion of flying. A lot of times people accidentally put it on backwards. So in this case, our numbers are right here. That means the prop is going to be spinning from the rear clockwise. And that's correct. So that means we don't have to change anything. Our controls are working okay. All we need to do is glue this servos down. Now we can go ahead and we can unplug. We can unplug from the receiver, and then we can pass this right through the back. Now because this is a pusher, you really don't need to lock this in with a barbecue skewer. If your power pod for some reason is excessively loose, you can push a barbecue skewer right on the very top, but I typically like to just let it be a nice friction fit, and it goes right in. There we go.
Hey Josh,
Yes, sir.
benefit to using a specific pusher prop for a pusher airplane versus what you have?
Yeah, clockwise props are really the preferred method to go. I just like to have people be able to use what they have in the box so they don't have to buy anything additional. But a clockwise prop, if you land or run it up on the ground or hit some kind of obstruction, it's not going to spin your prop nut loose. Now the cool thing with the new Power Pack Fs, and a matter of fact all of our Power Packs, is we include lock nuts on many of them. Those lock nuts would be what you want to use, and the nice thing is, just like a multi-rotor, if something hits it, that lock nut's not going to spin free and pop off. Keep in mind, if you do have like a conventional tractor style where the motor's up in the front, oftentimes you'll see a right angle there, and that right angle requires a counterclockwise prop. If you have a clockwise prop on that right angle, the plane's going to spiral uncontrollably to the right because the torque is actually going to amplify the thrust angle. But because pushers generally don't need much thrust angle, if any, this one's good to use whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. Yeah, great question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and reconnect this. And I'm going to go ahead and power it on. And I already have both my channels left and right elevons reversed, so I can go ahead and check that. I have up, I have right, I have down, and I have left. Anytime you push it towards the right or left, what you should see is you should see the right elevon raising up when you push it to the right, or the left one when you push it to the left. And when you pull back, you should see both of them going up. Now we haven't glued our servos yet, and we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to bring back my reflex gauge. And now is where we can go ahead and we can move that servo slightly forward or back to get the exact reflex we want. So now I can lift this up. Whoop, I just popped that off. I have that down in there. Let me go ahead and lock in the servos first. It'll just be easier that way. I got my two little tiny servo screws. We'll go ahead and screw those down. A really good tip is anytime that you're putting your servo arm screws in there, whether it's powered or not, make sure you brace that so as you're turning the screw down in there, you're not putting all that torque on the gears. There we go. Okay. Now I'm just going to lift up my servo a little bit. I'm going to put a drop of glue underneath both of the flaps. 1 and 2. And now I can set this down in place, and I'm just going to hold this right to where the reflex gauge is met. Now you may still need a little bit of trimming one way or another because every plane's a little bit different when you fly it, but this should be a really good setting to get you started and to make the plane fly good.
You know, that hoodie must be your favorite because it's been popping up.
Has it been popping up? It is.
Yeah.
I'm a creature of habit. What can I say? It's hoodie weather, and I love it. All right, same process on the other side. Bead of glue on both sides. I love how quickly these arrows go together. We're taking our good sweet time to make sure everyone can follow along, but once you've built a couple of these, it's incredible how quickly you can build them. There we go. All right, make sure you let that fully dry before moving your servos, because if you move them too early and it gets loose, it's not going to be a good link. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this. And now I got a lot of these extra wires here. Just to make things easy, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push this down in the little side cavity right here. And that's going to allow my battery lead to pop out. And then I'm going to wind up the rest of my receiver wires. I'm going to slide that into the back. You can actually make both your receiver and your ESC go in the back, but keep in mind, if your ESC gets hot, say you're running something other than Power Pack F or you're going to 4-cell, it's a good idea to give this plenty of ventilation. If you're going to have it where it's getting hot, put it right on the very top on the back here on a piece of Velcro, give it plenty of air, and it'll do great. You can see now, can you give me a top down real quick? You can see now everything is tucked down nice and neat. I got my ESC in the side piece here. I can even actually open up this bottom flap here and let the air go in and go right over and out the back if I want to. And then I got my receiver pushed all the way in the back, and this leaves this area here for either an FPV camera or to be able to put your battery all the way forward. Okay, let's go ahead and power the transmitter down. We are on the home stretch here. Let's go ahead and grab our little top hatch, and we'll put our attention towards that. Oops. Hey, am I done with this mic? Or which one are you working on?
It's kind of like a redundant system.
Okay, cool. I'll just leave it on. Is the sound being better now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good, good. All right, I'm going to put this right to the side here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut along the score lines on both sides. Again, if you're going to put FPV camera in this, like the little Cadex all-in-one that we have, you can use the one with a hole in the middle. If you're going to be using the this for line of sight flying, you can just use a solid one. And always cut a hole in later if you want. There we go. And then finally we have a little C-fold in the back, and we'll open up that cavity. Let me just put that up close there. Take your time, make sure your piece looks like that. The piece that's opposite of our fold over right here, let's go ahead and peel that paper off. That'll give us the ability to make a curve. Okay. Now that we're happy with that, we'll paste a bead of glue right on the top of where we're going to have our C-fold. And C-fold looks just like how you'd expect it to be, like a C. We're going to fold that over 180 degrees. Wipe off any extra glue that you have and make sure it's 90 degrees. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and take about 3 inches of tape. If you have 3/4 inch Scotch tape, that works really, really well. I'm just going to rip this in half, and I'm just going to make a little tiny pull tab that'll make it really easy to get to our hatch. Lay that right on the top here. This gives us some really nice reinforcement. Maybe a little bit too long. There we go. Now, because our hatch is going to open and close a lot, we want to reinforce the area between the paper. And we're going to do that just like we did with our hot glue hinge. Just going to put a bead of glue right down there, and we're going to smear off all the excess. Make sure this fully dries before we move on, because we don't want to accidentally glue our hatch together. There we go. Everyone following along okay? We're doing good?
Yep, so far.
Excellent. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and do our first test fit of our hatch. I'm going to lay this right down in here. And right where this starts curling down, I'm going to go ahead and press this into place, just like that. And the reason is I want to mark this in the area that I'm going to cut this off. And if you can see now, I don't know if it'll be easy to see now, but I made a little tiny score cut, or a little score mark, right here. That score mark's going to be where we're going to go ahead and cut down to the facing paper, and we're going to remove it. Now, a really cool tip to make your hatch nice and strong so it doesn't delaminate over time is we can take a scrap piece of foam and we can go ahead and wipe a bead of glue on both sides and scrape it off just like we did with the hot glue hinge. This is going to make the facing paper and the main area nice and strong. Just make sure you don't get that into the area that you want to have your hinge, or else it can keep it open or shut. There we go. Anyone having any questions? Are we okay?
Nope.
Wonderful. All right, we're giving this plenty of time to dry here, because this is the last time it's going to be separate from the airplane. Yep, that's good. I'm going to press this down right into place. Should be a nice friction fit, just like that. And now I can open up the front portion just like a door hinge, and I can focus my glue on both sides and the very front. Make sure you have a scrap piece of foam handy, because that's going to come in handy in just a second. I'm going to rotate this down. All the way to the top. I can fold this over and hold it. If you have any extra glue squirt out of the seams, you can wipe that off with a scrap piece of foam. Give us about 30-40 more seconds here. We're doing great time-wise. We got about maybe 10 more minutes. Friends, do us a big favor. If you watched along and if you built along or just hung out with us in the family, post a picture on Flight Test Fans for us if you're part of the Facebook group or an Instagram, and just tag us in Flight Test. We like to see people building together, flying together, making memories together, and we'd love to see what you guys did with this time. Okay, so the glue's nice and dry now, and you can see we have a really cool hatch. Now, if your hatch is at all loose and you want to give yourself a little bit of extra rigidity, one thing you can do is you can put 2 small drops on the very bottom and let that fully dry of glue. And what that's going to do is when you push that down, it'll actually clip into the bottom piece and hold itself in there, and then it'll release itself real easy, but it won't fly up in flight. Turn around the camera, you got to see this. That's not awkward at all.
I didn't know if it was showing up on the microphone or not.
That looks incredible, Dave.
Background trying to be quiet.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine. All right. So this plane will actually technically fly without wingtips, but it's incredibly squirrely and you got to fly it really fast. So the wing plates on the outside here are going to give it stability. One thing to keep in mind is you can have a little tiny edge line on both sides, and those edge lines are going to line up with the bottom surface of each wingtip. And also, right where the edge line ends is right where you want the leading edge to be rolling around. So let's go ahead and, no, tell me if this is a good angle for the camera. Can I see that okay?
That's better.
There's our edge line. I'm going to line that up right with the leading edge. And when I roll that up, I want to see a nice smooth joint. If it has a gap in there, go ahead and either seam that or shape that until it's flush on the top and the bottom of the wing. I'm going to use gravity as my friend here. I'm going to put a bead of glue. And if you're ever going to make a spare part, these wingtips oftentimes take a ton of beading. So this would be a good one to trace out before you glue this on, or to use a piece that you popped it out with as a template as well too. All right, there's one piece. We're going to hold that in place. Everything okay? I don't know if you can see that or not. You can see right where the leading edge is and right where that reference line is. Same process on the other side now. Oop. This side I actually forgot to cut it. Let me grab my knife here. There we go. And then we'll do one more time here. That looks good. Hey, did anyone offer a preferred time on when they'd like to see this? Does this work out pretty good for everybody?
No one's saying anything different.
Cool. There we go. Now, if you're at all worried about strength, or maybe there's a little bit of a gap in there, you can always fill that in with a little bit of extra hot glue and make it nice and strong. Okay. Now, included in our kit is a piece of Velcro here, and I think what I always do is fuzzy fuselage. Yep, just make sure I'm staying with that. Although there's a very good argument for prickly in the fuselage.
Yeah, there is a definite debate there.
Yes, yeah, it's whether you use your thumbs or pinch with the control sticks, but
I look at it more when you put it in your pocket. I don't want pocket in the mouth.
yes, yeah. So Dave is actually right. The reason I said fuzzy fuselage back in the early days is I liked the fact that it kind of like rolled off the tongue. Yeah. Fuzzy fuselage, easy to remember. But Dave is right. If you have the prickly on the battery and you shove the battery in your pocket, it's grabbing every bit of lint. Now this already has prickly because apparently I got to this battery before David did, so I'm doing fuzzy fuselage.
I want to say most of our batteries have clothes on them now.
They do. That's how we keep the peace here, right? All right, I'm going to put a piece of tape all the way in the front nose, and a lot of times people put a lot of tape down to really lock the battery in. You don't need necessarily a lot of tape. What you need is just good contact between the battery and the fuselage or the mounting surface. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the front, just like that. And the battery is what's going to give you your balance, and it's really important to make sure that, especially with your first flights, favor a little bit more nose heavy than what you would think. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this in. I'll just slide on my prop here, not that it adds a lot. And if I'm not mistaken, our data card should be right here. You want to show them that? That's awesome. It works great. Oh,
Almost there.
Your battery's gonna be dead before that thing finishes.
there it is. Almost there. There you go.
Now
Very
back
nice.
up.
All right. So we're going to put our battery all the way forward here. And depending on what battery you're using and stuff, if it's a smaller battery and stuff, you may have to add a little bit of nose weight. A real easy way to do that is just simply put a little washer underneath it. But sometimes you may have things like FPV gear that's going up there and your battery has to go back a little bit. Just make sure that when you measure 1 3/4 inches from the very back trailing edge right here, that you can place your fingers under it and that you see it either level or slightly nose down. Just like that. That looks really good. Our last step that we're going to do is we're going to lock down the prop. You know what? I'll be responsible today. I'll use the lock nut. Now don't cringe. Typically you'll want to use a prop wrench. We actually sell them on our store. But I'm going to use pliers.
You want one? Jason Bennett has one.
Too late. It's on. There we go. Oh, you know what? I put the prop on backwards. Literally, I was telling everyone, numbers go forward, and I literally put the prop on backwards. Okay, let me do this again. Hey, we all do it. So if you notice in our builds here, it's always a good idea to put your batteries on right before the airplane is finished. That's because you don't want the prop on there. You don't want to be turning things off and on and accidentally bump your throttle. It's a really good way to get injured, and we don't want to see that happen. There we go. So our numbers are pointing towards the nose of the plane. That's the easiest way to always make sure that it's going the right direction. I actually don't need this prop enough. That's for the spinner nut. There we go. Making a lot of people cringe grabbing that with pliers, huh? There it is. All right, our last step is we're going to turn on our transmitter. Now, if you're new to the hobby, always turn your transmitter on first before powering up your airplane. It's a really good idea to have that control link established before you power your airplane on and have it looking for something else. I'm going to go ahead and power this on. There we go. Turn it to a safe direction. Right, left, up, down, and plenty of throttle. It's dark. We should plan this in June, and that way it'll still be light outside. All right, friends, at this point, we are ready to take it out for the maiden, but unfortunately, there's no lights on this, and it is dark now. But I do want to thank you for being part of the Flight Test family, and I want to thank you for the time you spent building along with me, whether you're just hanging out with friends and family, or whether you're putting this together. Again, do us a big favor here. If you had some fun and you enjoyed some time, take a picture, take a selfie, post what you built or the time that you had with your friends and family on either Flight Test Fans or tag us in any of the other social media platforms. We'd love to see what you did with your time. And now we have some extra bandwidth, huh? We have 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, friends, yeah, isn't that crazy? We always go an hour over, and we're early.
Josh, Ben says it's easier to reverse props than to reverse fuselage doublers.
Ben's obviously built with us before, yes. So there's a little backstory. This is the first build video that you guys done. One of my biggest fears ever is to do a live build, have a bunch of great people building along with us, and then make a mistake. And that's exactly what I did in the last build when I was doing, I think it was a tutor, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and one of the great community members actually had to be like, what about the doubler? And I did, I think, what did I do, the doubler backwards? Or I forgot the doubler.
No, there was 2 doublers and you only did 1.
That's it, yeah. It was bad. So long story short, I think I had to rip off, didn't I have to rip off a doubler and then reverse it or something? Yeah. Biggest fear come true, you know, messing up a whole bunch of people building along, and that's why we did this aero today. Does anyone have any suggestions on what they'd like to see for a different airplane?
I was almost thinking do a how to decorate decorate your plane. Show decals, fatigues, that kind of stuff.
Man, you know, it'd be really cool if we could even get like Travis in or something to do like a tutorial.
Oh yeah.
I like that. I like that decorating your plane idea.
Yeah.
That could be
We
cool.
could do fatigues. We could do decals.
Do we have any fatigues with us?
Wait.
Do you have some downstairs? So we have something really cool. This right here. Do we have some? What colors? It's not the really big ones, is it? Hey,
I got
Down-
orange and yellow.
orange and yellow. Ew, that's gross.
One second.
Hey, what about downstairs? Downstairs in the hobby shop, they have that. So we have this really cool decal kit called FT Fatigues. And the reason I like it so much is because what you do is you basically can make your own color patterns. We have gray, we have black, we have yellow, orange, and am I missing anything, Dave? Gray, black, yellow, and orange, right? Yeah.
Did we do blue?
I don't think we did blue. But you can mix and match and make a really cool camo scheme, just like what you see right here. And it's awesome, it's easy, and yeah, we can decorate while we're talking. I haven't done one of those yet. We got a lot of really cool stuff, guys, at our store. And again, for any of you guys that are going to our store and supporting us, it means the world to us. Between the content and the store is how we basically keep this show going. And it means the world to us. It's our lifeblood, it's our livelihood. And to be here 13 years later, almost to the month, is incredible. So it means the world to us. And I can't wait for many more years to come. No, they bought it? All right, well, sorry. We'll have to do FT Fatigues next time. Very cool. Well, I guess it's Q&A time. Or we can call it early.
Jeff is talking about putting a tail and a nose on the
Let's get the chat, Josh.
What's that?
It
Yeah.
looks like a fighter jet.
What's that?
A guy named Jeff thinks we should put a nose and tail on the spear because it looks like a fighter jet.
Oh, that would look cool.
I'm down.
Hey, Dave, Amy wants to see a giant spruce goose.
Get on
I'll
that,
put
Dave.
it on the list.
Put it on the list.
I like that idea,
Yeah.
actually.
Hey, Jason, could you put a link to for the arrow kit?
Yeah.
Thank you. We got a lot of really cool things. If you guys are new to the hobby or you just want to get everything and also save a lot of money, we have these things called value bundles. And a value bundle gives you like every electronics you'll need for that kit specifically. So you won't get any extra like servos if you don't need it, but you'll get exactly what you need for that kit. Oftentimes you're saving between anywhere from 30 to 50 bucks. It's heavily discounted. And the kit, the electronics, everything but your transmitter, receiver, and battery and charger come with it. So it's a great way to get into the hobby. It's a great way to get everything you need and also save some money at the same time. Hey, thanks for the kind words, VNMF. Appreciate you. Hey, Greg. Greg Hughes is on. This is a great opportunity, guys. So next week, Dave, myself, Noah, and Stefan are going to be traveling into Oregon to visit our good friends at Van's Aircraft. And the cool thing about that is on Saturday, we're going to be doing a meetup, and that's been on our social media. Maybe, Noah, is there a way to drop a link for that too?
I can put it down. Check on social media.
Check on social
There'll
media.
be more
Yeah.
posts.
But we want to do a meetup with you nice folks. Van's Aircraft's making that possible. If you guys don't know, we're going to be building a Van's Aircraft RV-12IS over the next year and a half, and having a lot of fun with that. But we're going to also be doing some content with the great folks at Van's, doing a tour of their factory, showing you a lot of the inside stuff, and spending time with the team. So make sure you tune into that content, but also if you're in the Oregon area, I think it's around Portland, Oregon, we'd love to be able to meet up with you and spend some time with you. Awesome.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of doing the spruce goose.
It's growing on you, huh? Well, now that we know how to like do monocoat or the covering film and the foam and the wood,
Wanting another big heavy lifter plane.
yeah, that would do it. I like the fact that winter's always build season. We do have to finish off the hovercraft though.
What's that?
We do have to finish off the hovercraft
Yeah,
before the.
so that's coming up. I plan on doing that as soon as we get back from Oregon
Yes.
and finishing up this thing.
I wish we had.
Alessandro's from Hungary, Uruguay. Hey, brother.
What are some more episodes ideas that you guys would like to see?
Yeah. I didn't realize. Did you know the Spruce Goose is an hour away from where we'll be?
Yeah, we should.
I had no clue.
actually save it.
That's what Greg just said, yeah.
We get time.
Oh, okay. This is cool. Mikkel Wigman, could you toss me the pocket?
Yeah.
Okay, so friends, we're nerding out. I was really intimidated by Edge TX for the longest time, and after the good folks at Radio Master got us into the TX16, and we started really using them regularly and everything, I've fallen in love with it. There's basically 4 ways to do everything, but the really cool thing about Edge TX, whether it's a TX16, a Zorro, or this newest radio, the Pocket, which literally is like a pocket-sized radio, it's all the same. When you hit the model button and you scroll over, it does the same thing. So once you learn it, you know it, and you can go to virtually any radio and with many different makes and manufacturers and have the same experience, which I love. This pocket radio, we're going to have this very soon in our stores, or as soon as possible, I should say. I don't know if very soon is an accurate statement. But I've gotten to work with this on the Tiny Whoop. Jason just taught me a ton on the version that has the ELRS protocol. It's incredible, to say the least. And we're going to be able to do tech channel videos, but also some basic videos. Now, Noah, you just recently did, what, 4 videos?
Yeah.
What did we do, 3 or 4 videos on binding and stuff using Edge TX? And you'll see very quickly there's a common theme to it, and it is very approachable and doable. So, yeah, good question.
747 with a piggyback space shuttle.
I like that. Yeah, Jason did that.
Question's gotten close.
Oh, classic team reunion. I like that.
That is cool.
It's called Flight Fest.
Yeah, it is. It is. By the way, I saw Josh Scott mentioned in here. Josh is incredible. Him and his awesome family travel all over the country. He's still the worship leader at his church, but he does something called Memoirs of World War II. And if you guys want to see history, hear a heartfelt story, just as if you're hearing from a grandparent with all the wisdom in the world pushed into that, check out Josh's channel because it is insanely incredible. And it's also one of the most important things, capturing these stories for history and for people to learn from. So, yeah, Josh does Memoirs of World War II. It's incredible. And I believe even other team members help him with that too. I know his wonderful wife does. Oh, Songbird's building a turbo tutor. I like a lot of energy around the Spruce Goose doing a live tour. I just saw. Yeah, Lee, he's still doing World War II, Memoirs of World War II. Hey, Songbird FPV, I saw that you're building a turbo tutor. I have a prototype of a mini tutor that we're going to be working on. We call it the Little Toot, and hopefully that'll work out really good. So,
It's gonna be the little toot or the tiny toot.
I don't know.
I like a tiny toot.
Yeah, the tiny toot. You guys get to pick that. It'll be just childish humor in one way or another.
He
So,
likes least.
when are we coming to Oregon?
No, Lee came up with the tutor.
Yeah, Lee was the one that named the tutor.
Stefan hates it.
Yeah, when are we coming to Oregon? It's going to be Saturday, right? Is when we're doing the meetup.
Saturday. 1 second.
Yeah, we'll be in Oregon doing content with the great folks at Vans. I think it'll be Thursday.
Saturday we're doing the meet and greet.
Yep.
I don't know what the name of the field is.
Yeah, and Thursday and Friday we'll be in Oregon, but we won't be able to meet up until Saturday.
The
So
meetup is going to be Saturday, September 23rd from 10
There it is.
And if you check on our Facebook and Instagram, in the description, there's the address and all the information.
We gotta figure out live.
Beautiful. What's that, brother?
We have to figure out the live FPV.
Yeah, that would be great.
Everyone asking for it.
Wonderful.
Treetops.
Well, friends, I think we're at a good stopping point. Again, I want to thank you for taking time to build. Also, if you like this live and you want to see future ones, give us ideas on what you'd like to see built, the topics you'd like to see discussed. We like building, we like flying, but we love you guys. So thank you for being part of this. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.